Spy. It's an action comedy starring Melissa McCarthy, Jason Statham, Jude Law, Rose Byrne, and Peter Serafinovich. It's essentially a comedy version of a James Bond film, but one that still retains fairly competent action within itself. The story is that Melissa McCarthy works for the CIA as a partner of Jude Law. He's the Bond in this scenario, the confident one, a suave, dashing field agent that goes on missions around the world to save humanity. She's his guy in a chair. She's sitting at the office, feeding him information through an earpiece, and providing support where needed. On one such mission, something happens to Jude Law without spoiling anything, and the agency is left without a plan to stop multinational criminals from obtaining a pocket version nuclear device. Melissa McCarthy then volunteers to go into the field in an unusual move. The reasoning is that she's an unknown quantity, she's invisible, she's able to blend in. And she eventually does go, and during this mission, she will have to rediscover her hidden talents and skills and find confidence in using those skills in order to save the world. So, first things first, I am not a fan of Melissa McCarthy. I don't particularly like her as an actress, nor do I enjoy her brand of humor. I think she's mainly one note, and I just don't buy into that stuff that she's usually doing. And even here, I didn't fully buy into that. But I was able to enjoy the film nonetheless, mainly thanks to how it is constructed. See, as I alluded to at the beginning, it's not a straight spoof like, say, Austin Powers. It's just not a 100% comedy. The director himself described the process of creating the film as this. We wanted to have the plot and a world which could reasonably be made as a serious spy film, and he wanted to have competent, exciting action sequences in it, and then into this setup he would put characters that are themselves ridiculous. This idea is executed fairly well, and it means that despite the primarily comedic tone, the film doesn't fall completely into the pastiche territory. It walks the fine line between popcorn action flick and a spy spoof that does it remarkably well. I think the key reason why it works is because the actual characters that have to carry the weight of the comedy are written quite well. Again, I'm not entirely on board with Melissa McCarthy, but I can admit she's working at the core of the film. And all of the supporting characters are simply splendid. Jude Law, always a joy to see on the screen. Peter Serafinovich, hilarious as an Italian contact, but really the one that is the highlight of the film for me was Jason Statham. He's essentially playing all of the Jason Statham characters folded into one. Tough, bold guy that isn't afraid to talk shit and hit things. But here, he's dialed to 11, and as a consequence, just hysterically incompetent. And I don't know, something about the way he says his lines, which are at times just genius, admittedly, just made me crack up every single time. He definitely steals every scene he's in. And for me, he elevated the entire film. I think without his character, it would have been just average. Because there are flaws as well. I think that the plot eventually becomes too convoluted. I think that the film is slightly too long. It overstayed its welcome for me. I think, making it shorter would have improved the pacing, especially towards the final act. And there's also a sudden appearance by 50 Cent in the film, which seems just a bit out of place, even though he does eventually play an unexpectedly significant role in the plot, other than just being there. Still, it did take me out of the film for a good moment when he first showed up. So, to sum all of this up somehow, I think this particular film's reception will be heavily dependent on who's watching it, even more so than usual. The more you like spy movies and enjoy Melissa McCarthy's brand of humor, the more you'll enjoy this film. I can definitely see other people not being as critical of it as I was and enjoying it immensely, just having a lot of lighthearted fun. For me personally, it wasn't as good. It will fall somewhere in the middle, with Jason Statham single-handedly moving the film into the area of being decent.